Hey, are you awake?
Where am I? Where is this place?
There's no time for that. I'm gonna need you to do something for me. Nothing too extensive. I just need you to check on someone. The name is Olive Specter. She's an old friend of mine. Just remember, when you wake up, Olive Specter.
When I opened my eyes, I was somewhere I'd never been before, and everything looked different. Where was I? Wherever I was very orange and wrong looking. This must be a dream. I closed my eyes again. I thought about what just happened. We were fighting the mother plant in the secret lab in Strangerville. Sean and Cam were there, and so was my mom. I got attacked by the mother plant and then I saw that person. Who was that? It looked like, was it the Grim Reaper? Was I dead? I opened my eyes again. I was actually in this strange place. This strange town. Okay. This is okay. I got this. It's okay. Maybe if I did what Grim wanted me to do, I'd be fine. He could bring me back to my family, my life, and my world. This was literally the only thing I could hope for. So, who was that person Grim wanted me to check on? It was, Olive, right? Olive Specter, yep. This shouldn't be too hard, I hope. I walked down the street aimlessly. I had no idea where this lady lived. Then I passed a very weird house. In the backyard was a garden. Not any old garden though. It was a graveyard. In the middle of the graveyard was an elder sitting in a chair. She was just sitting there, staring straight ahead. Nothing weird there. However, it wasn't any old elder. It was exactly who I was looking for. Well, that was super easy. Barely an inconvenience, one could say. I watched her for a while. She sat in her chair, not doing anything for way too long. It was creepy. It was uncomfortable. I don't know what she was doing. As she sat there, I noticed that she had no eyebrows. There's nothing wrong with having no eyebrows. I just thought it was an interesting thing to point out. Her name, Olive Specter, kinda sounded like I Love Specter. You get it? Like a specter, like a ghost, and she's in a graveyard. It's a little too on the nose for my liking. Finally, she got up from her chair and went inside. That's when the front door opened and someone else came out of the house. I walked up to that sim and introduced myself. She greeted me and told me her name was Ophelia. I told her I was doing a newspaper article on the townspeople and wanted to know more information about her family. She happily agreed to do an interview, thankfully. Ophelia talked about how people always assume things if they know your hometown is strange town. Like when you go to the university town or downtown, they're like, wow, you live in strange town, that's kinda weird. They expect you to be related to aliens, mad scientists, or military personnel, but that's not always the case. In fact, her guardian, her Aunt Olive, wasn't any of that. She was simply a professional party guest. I asked her about her aunt. What was she like? Was she married? Did she have any children? Apparently, Olive is friendly or mean, depending on who you ask. Unlucky, me, a bookworm with commitment issues. She had a son who was adopted by the Beakers. She's been widowed a few times, and one of her ex-fiancés actually left her at the altar, and then died afterwards. According to Ophelia, people close to Olive tend to die. Clearly, Olive follows death. Or does death follow her? What does that even mean? Obviously, there's been a lot of death since their backyard is essentially a cemetery, but how does that happen? Ophelia didn't have an answer for me. She honestly didn't know, nor had she witnessed anything suspicious. Sometimes there are just more tombstones back there, and Ophelia doesn't question it. Was she afraid for her own life? And that's why she doesn't question any of it? Was there some foul play involved? What was happening here? What do the neighbors think about this? The small desert town didn't have many community lots. Nonetheless, there was a community center, 94 Road to Nowhere. I decided that it would be the perfect place to talk to other townspeople about Olive. As I waited for someone to talk to, a stern-looking man walked by. That's it. That's my first interviewee. I found out the man's name, General Buzz Grunt. Buzz described himself as a neat, active, and self-assured military man. He described his house as a domesticated boot camp for his 3 sons, Tank, Rip, and Buck. I asked him things about himself and found out stuff like he has no memory of mastering the fitness skill, or that he has many feuds with the other townspeople. One thing led to another, and we talked about Olive. He explained that despite the fact that he would show up at her house upon invite, he was actually feuding with Olive. This is because when his ex-wife Lila moved out, she immediately was electrocuted and died on Olive's lot. This, he said, felt suspicious. It upset him that she ended up buried in Olive's garden alongside other random Sims. This is why he has a negative relationship with her. For a brief second, I saw emotion ripple across his face, and then it was gone. He had to get going at this point, so I thanked him for his time and looked for another Sim. The next Sim I talked to was an interesting fellow by the name of Pascal Curious. He didn't know much about Olive Specter, but he was very knowledgeable about aliens. Apparently, he had just given birth to an alien hybrid, and there were many aliens in his family tree. In fact, his father was abducted and had alien hybrids. Then his sister married the alien who abducted his father. That means his sister is a stepmother to their half-sisters. Their half-sisters are aunts, and also half-sisters to Pascal's niece and nephew. Oh, and his good friend's name is Nervous Subject. As I said, Pascal was an interesting fellow. I talked to a few random Sims throughout the day. None of them really had any information about Olive, other than she's odd, her house is creepy, or she's been paid to go to their birthday party. I was about to give up when an unusual looking man came up to me. Loki Beaker was his name, and he had heard about what I was doing and asking about. Loki was a self-described genius who was excellent at school and a brilliant inventor. He loves to chew on aluminum foil to make his teeth buzz. He met his wife lurking in an online chat room devoted to lurking in online chat rooms. He's the adoptive father of Nervous Subject, and he would very much like it if I stopped poking around Olive Specter's business, please and thank you. Or at least publicly asking questions about her, as he didn't want his son to go through anything based on his biological mom's issues. He didn't need any unwanted attention, he huffed. With that, he was on his way. I decided it was time to meet Olive herself. I'm not even sure why I didn't do this to begin with. It wasn't like Grimm wanted me to spy on or investigate Olive. Grimm just wanted to know how Olive was. It was supposed to be a quick visit to see how she was doing. I took this job too seriously. It was the detective in me. It just came out. I walked to Olive's house, and lo and behold, she was outside in her garden. I walked into her backyard and quickly introduced myself. I told her that I was sent by Grimm. She seemed pretty excited about that. She let me know that it's been a while since the last time she saw Grimm, and that it was sweet to know that he's been thinking about her. How do you know him? I wondered out loud. With a smile, she gestured to the tombstones in her garden and said, "He visits here often." You see, Grimm and I have a close bond. Through everything, all her marriages, all her friendships, every time she gets a new maid or pizza delivery person, Grimm has always been there for her and has come back. Through the power of their close bond, she was even able to conceive and give birth to a child as an elder. Although her poor baby was removed from her care, she knows that their child is living out there in the world. A true testament to the love shared between her and Grimm. I was taken aback. Grimm had a baby with Olive Specter? I thought about what she had said and noticed that some of the tombstones in her garden were for service NPCs, her former husbands, family members, and Lila Grunt. By all means, it kinda sounded like she used these people's deaths as a way to summon the Grim Reaper. Was she? No. Was she some sort of serial killer? Did she murder all of these people just to see Grimm? It was at this moment I realized that if Olive is someone who might possibly, potentially, probably murder people as a way to visit her beloved Grimm, and she clearly has no issue with loved ones dying, then what would she do to a stranger? A stranger who willingly walked into her backyard. Someone who's been openly discussing her on a community lot. I knew I had to leave immediately, or else it could be my tombstone spawning in next. I thanked Olive for our conversation and let her know that Graham was, once again, thinking about her. She sweetly replied that she appreciated it and she'll let him know how kind I was when she sees him next, which was going to be very soon. I took that as my cue to leave. I couldn't die. Not here, not now. I had to somehow make it back to my family in my timeline.